Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. As you can probably tell from the intro, today's video is a pedal demo and review. Now this is the first time I'm ever doing one of these, and I've decided to kick it off with the Donner Dumbal Drive. Now I got this pedal off of Amazon for $65.99 Canadian, and that's pretty affordable. Now Donner is definitely known for making affordable pedals, and pretty good ones at that. So on the Donner website, the Dumbal Drive is described as a transparent, glassy, smoothly compressed, and dynamic sounding drive pedal. And I'm sure it's pretty clear that it's also meant to be an amp in a box. And that specific amp has reached somewhat legendary status in the community. And they're not too subtle about the name either. So let's hear how it sounds and see if it lives up to its name. Jumping right into it, I'm playing my Fender Strat going into the Dumbal Drive. That's going straight into my Fender 68 Custom Deluxe Reverb, being mic'd up with a Sennheiser E906 going into a Steinberg interface and being recorded into Logic. Now the amp is turned up to around 3.5, so just slightly pushed. And there's just a touch of reverb. Add some space, but not add too much color to the sound. So here we go, clean sound, neck pickup of the Strat. So let's kick on the Dumbal Drive. Everything's at noon, and it's on mode number 2, which is supposed to be the most open sounding and lowest gain sound out of the 3. So let's hear what that sounds like. So definitely very transparent. It's not coloring my sound too much, and it's just adding a little bit of grit. But I did notice that there's not too much volume, so I'm going to turn that up just to try and level it off with the clean sound. There we are. So that is where it's around unity volume. So this is actually a good time to explore the bass and treble. Now it's a 2-band EQ, and according to the website, these are supposed to not only be cut knobs, but these are supposed to boost as well. So let's take a look at the range of each of the knobs. Let's start with treble, shall we? So let's turn it all the way up. Down. Okay. So what I am hearing is it's definitely boosting something. It's boosting that frequency for sure. But you can also hear that it suddenly got grittier and the volume went up, even though I didn't touch the volume knob at all. Each of the knobs kind of interacts with each other. So the EQ, the more you turn it up, the more volume the pedal has. And it also seems that it affects the gain as well. Let's take a look at the bass knob now. I'm going to turn it all the way up and see how much we get there. And all the way down. Now let's take a look at the gain knob. This is where it gets interesting, and we could throw around saying that it's amp-like, and I would say that the controls make it very amp-like. So we'll turn the gain all the way down, and you'll hear I haven't touched the volume at all still, and suddenly I don't have much volume. So the gain and the volume are definitely working together. So I think, like I said, these knobs are all very interactive. If I turn up the EQ a bit, actually I'll leave the bass down. I'll turn up the treble so it matches the guitar a little better. And boosting this should give me a little bit more volume. And there we are. So suddenly we've gotten to the point where it almost sounds like the pedal isn't really on. And all I had to do to get more volume was actually increase the treble. Okay, moving on to the mode switch. Now, there's 3 different modes, and these are all different types of clipping that this pedal has to offer. So number 1 is a slightly more compressed mode versus number 2. And the description on the site says that it's controlling the treble frequencies from distorting. And to my ears, what that's saying is it's keeping those treble frequencies from getting clipped and compressed, but allowing the bass end to be more squashed and pushed down a little bit. And you can actually hear in this mode, it does a very good small tweed amp sound, like when you crank a small tweed amp and it kind of sounds like it's falling apart on itself, and the low end gets really loose and flubby. Here's the sound as is. Okay, now I'm going to turn the gain up and you'll hear it kind of falling apart on itself. So yeah, it definitely sounds like one of those amps that's been cranked. And if you ever do want to use the gain up at this high and you're in this mode, it's simply just turning down the bass to kind of compensate, and suddenly you have a nice tight sound again that doesn't sound like the amp's going to explode. So we'll move on to number 2, the most open and the least compressed sounding. Now this is meant to be symmetrical clipping, so the top and the bottom of that sine wave are being clipped and compressed evenly. So very, very nice. Now I really like this mode, and it's symmetrical clipping, so it's very much like a tube screamer, and I love tube screamers. And if you love a tube screamer as well, but don't like that big mid hump, and you don't like that it cuts bass and cuts treble and gets really dark, this might be a great option for you, because suddenly you do have the same sort of clipping, but you also have a bass and a treble that makes this much more tonally flexible. All right, moving on to mode number 3, the most compressed and supposedly the most gainy of the sounds. And I think the reason that this feels the most compressed is because on the description on the site, this is controlling now the bass frequencies, and it's keeping those from being distorted and clipped, and it's clipping more of the treble. So all those peaks and those transients are being squashed down, which probably is why it feels so much more compressed. turn up the bass and the treble and keep the treble up and gain up as well, and I'll flip through the different modes and we can hear how they affect the frequencies and how they sound overdriven. So here we go. Mode number 1. All right, so I don't know if you guys can hear that. It's pretty obvious in the room that there's a big difference, and a lot of maybe that feeling of difference might be in the feel as well, not so much something that you can very clearly hear. I would say that number 3 I would use more for a Strat. Reason being is because Strat pickups are actually quite bright and they don't have too much low end, and being able to sort of attenuate those high end frequencies and still leave those low notes a little bit more wide open definitely complements especially the neck pickup of a Stratocaster. All right, now I've switched to my Yamaha Revstar RS720B. Great guitar, but the neck pickup I find is much darker and has a lot more lower end than my Strat's neck pickup. And I want to take a look at how that affects the different modes, or rather how the different modes can be used to cater to different guitars. Here it is, clean sound neck pickup. Everything is full on. And with the Dumbal Drive on mode 3, I'm going to quickly switch to mode 1 and you'll hear the difference. I'll play a bit more and then I'll switch in the middle of playing. Here we go. Okay, taking a closer look at the Dumbal Drive and fit and finish and quality and things like that, I think for $65.99 this thing is pretty solid. It does have sort of a thinner kind of casing here, and then all the innards are kind of just covered by that casing. Much thinner than a lot of other pedals, but by no means does it feel like it's just going to break apart on you. The knobs feel really good. The tapers are nice and consistent throughout the sweep of the knob. Bass, this mode switch, the mode switch feels really good as well. Nice solid clicks and doesn't feel like it's just gonna move on its own. And this foot switch is awesome. Now, I've had experience with some of the other Donner pedals and those mini pedals that are a little more affordable, and those foot switches are sometimes just horrible. Like, they're so hard to click, they feel bad, and I know it's such a nitpicky thing, but just these little extra touches of quality and refinement are really nice to see, especially when you're only paying this little amount of money. And then there's this little translucent window here that the LED is underneath, and it's a white LED. And I love this because even though it's white, so it's nice and clear, it's the translucent part makes it so it doesn't blind you, especially on a dark stage. Other than that, print screen looks really good. The font looks awesome, and just the overall look of the pedal and the aesthetic of the pedal, really nice. So, quick recap on how I feel about the Donner Dumbal Drive and how it sounds. Definitely very transparent, does the low gain sound really well, without adding too much coloration to the sound of the guitar. amp-like, yeah, I would say so, especially in the way that the controls work. They're all so interactive, and it feels like you're kind of messing with this tiny little amp in a box. Now, for some people that might not work for them. Depends on what you're looking for, right? Some people just want a pedal that has all their knobs kind of doing their own thing, more independent. So when they turn up the gain, for example, the volume doesn't drop or doesn't get higher, and when they turn it down, it doesn't drop, things like that. But for anyone who likes to tweak and tinker a little bit, I think they're really going to enjoy this pedal. Also, mode switch to change the clipping. This is really great to have, especially if you have different guitars that have different styles of pickups. To be able to adapt the pedal to those different guitars is really cool and really useful. Now, some things that I think could improve this a little bit. Volume, I think it could use a little bit more volume. Now, again, you can boost the volume by increasing the EQ, but even then, I feel like the volume could be a little bit higher just for those hotter output pickups, especially if you're going to be using this as a drive that you might kick on for a lead or to kind of shape your tone. But as an always on pedal, I think this thing does really well. And if it's always on, then you don't need to really worry about volume, do you? Anyways, that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, this was my first pedal demo, and I think it went pretty smooth. So hopefully more to come. Just want to make it clear that this was not sponsored by Donner. I bought this with my own moolah, and this is my pedal. Not sure if it's going to go on the board, not my main board anyways, but on a practice board or something on the side, I think this thing is going to do really well. So yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!